Every year, Cheer Extreme Senior Elite takes the floor with music that electrifies the entire arena. But what goes into creating that iconic mix? Today, we're so excited to pull back the curtain a little bit and explore the artistry, precision, and passion behind the music of some of the most legendary teams in cheerleading. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Courtney Smith-Pope from Cheer Extreme and Patrick Avard, better known as CheerMusicPro. Welcome in. How's everyone doing today?
We're
Doing
good.
great.
Good.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have both of you. I know it's been a busy week with all of the music releasing. This is such an exciting time. So, first, I have to know what has been both of your first thoughts seeing the way the cheer community has reacted to Senior Elite's music release this year?
Well, for me, I mean, I always think our ideas are good, but it's always refreshing whenever we can see a positive reaction and see the positive comments when we put the music out. So very exciting for me. In a lot of ways, I kind of get to, put the music out, and it's sort of the first glimpse of the team. And so that's always fun for me to see how people receive the music, receive the lyrics, and get people excited and hyped about the season.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's a relief to see that because obviously, I can always Patrick just he puts his heart and soul into making sure that every team he does music for is so impactful and so personally branded to the ideas that go into each mix. And with this being our second level of kind of an extension of a theme from last year, you never know how people are going to take the sequel. And he just did such a fantastic job making this one so much different than the first one. And we've been talking about this for months before we even had tryouts for the new team. So there's a lot of time and investment that goes into making sure that it's creative and emotional and just literally taking it to a next level.
Well, I love that you say that because Senior Elite brought a theme to life last season with Miss America. Now we're turning the page to Miss Universe. Super exciting. But Courtney, could you tell us a little bit about the meaning behind both of these themes and why this means so much to you and the team?
Yeah, well, we so fortunate to, obviously to get to do what I love for all these years. So coming off of 2023, our story had always been 10 years of almost, and we had all these musical just inferences of, one day we're going to win. And so then in 2023, when we finally did win, I was so thankful and just so excited. Obviously, it was Kinley's senior year, and that entire group of senior class was so special to me. So then the next year, I was very adamant about like I want to be humble and grateful and thankful. But we struggled having an identity in 2024 because we didn't know who to be once we'd finally won after a decade of trying. So that after 2024, we really allowed us to kind of clean the script and start with something new. And we didn't want to go way into like a character. So we went back and listened to all of the tracks of music that Senior Lead had ever had. And if you really go back, you can see little pieces of the Queen all the way through. So he really brought that to life last year. And then the team being as dominant as they did end up luckily being, we are excited for this year's team to advance to the next place. And it actually worked out so great because there's so many more teams in our division this year. So the field is also expanded. So not only are we going for it would feel like a bigger, more meaningful crown this time with all of the talented teams that have added to large senior.
Yeah, that is awesome. All right. So you talked a little bit about the process. Patrick, we'll jump back over to you. How do the two of you work together at the start when this theme is first presented to you? How do you bring these ideas to life?
Yeah, I mean, Courtney and I have a lot of conversations. The conversations start really early. Sometimes even before the last season is finished, like we're talking about, well, what if this happens? We could do this and that sort of thing. But we definitely really dive in after Worlds when it gets to be tryout time. And we sort of zero in and on a decision. Okay, hey, this is what we're going to do this year, and we really try to just kind of have an overarching concept. So this year with Senior Elite winning last year, we said, okay, well, we're only going to get one chance to do the sequel to Miss America. Let's take it to the next level. Let's do Miss Universe. So then comes the challenge of like, okay, how do we do a similar theme or the same theme, pageant theme, but make it different, and make it unique. So diving more into the process, like we start with a broad concept, and then we start talking about the more detailed ideas of what we can pull off. And I'll say, like, we typically also, Courtney gives me great notes. She really does. She writes out like her thoughts and what she's feeling about the team, and gives me words and phrases and things that mean something to the team. So that really sort of starts to help me and my team be able to wrap our mind around what the messaging and what the story needs to be for that year. We spend a lot of time on the building sections, the stunt and the pyramid, because those are really one of the things that Senior Elite is known for. So it's really important that we get those right. So we talk about concepts for the songs, what we want them to feel like, sound like. We might listen to 10 or 12 or 15 different songs that could be the right feel, and then my team and I, we develop the songs with references and ideas and a concept for the chorus, the hook.
Courtney, anything you'd like to add? He mentioned your detailed notes, but anything that helps you in the beginning process of bringing this music to life?
Well, yeah, like if you know me, then you know I'm like very superstitious. So, and for so we were in California at Universal when I wrote the first set of notes. Like I finished the whole copy of what we were doing. So then this year had to also be at Universal standing in line so I could really focus on. Anyway, so just a little aside story. So because I was like I can't sing to you, Patrick. So I'm like actually standing in the same line because that's how superstitious I am. But uh, no, he does such a great job. And then once he has an idea of the song he wants and I get the raw copy of it, then I start building like our pyramid to where the song naturally hits the big moments, because those are then when I send him our track or our finished product or what we think we're going to do skill wise, we're actually doing the routine to like an acapella version of the pyramid song. So that's always really special for the girls when they hear the music, because they've been practicing to a very, it doesn't have any instruments in it. It doesn't have the female voice behind it yet. And so they already know the words. So they're already going to love it just because of how much how much excitement comes from something that you're a little bit familiar with. So that definitely helps. And this year particularly, I love our pyramid song, and our stunt song is so, it captures exactly what we wanted it to be. And my favorite part of this year's track is how he really wrote such an incredible stunt song with Queen of It All. So if you listen to the music, it kind of hints at it, and then it goes to a voiceover, and then it hints at it again, and it goes to a voiceover, and then it comes out blaring. It's what I think is the best part of our routine people haven't seen yet. And so that really, his brilliance really helps us narrow down where to put our ideas and sort them in a way that they work together musically to create the impact that I think the track does.
I think I can jump back in there too, because this is probably an interesting point about this year's music. The song, when we wrote it, like all the pieces were together, but Courtney really felt like one part of the song went better with one part of her stunt, and the other part of the song went better somewhere else. So we actually broke it up and put it in the opposite order, and then I built what was in between that, so that the song was segmented, and that was a very unorthodox arrangement, but that was the way Courtney wanted me to try it, and I was like, okay, I'll try it, and and it actually worked out amazing. It was really great vision on her part, and it wasn't the way I saw it to begin with, but again, this is kind of a team effort, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this idea and see how it turns out, but I think it actually better and made the arrangement more interesting to listen to.
That's awesome. Fun little behind the scenes look there. All right. Well, going off that, Patrick, could you give us a little bit of insight into your timeline of what this whole process looks like for you, from these first moments of the ideation to when this mix is ready to release to the whole world?
Well, it's insane, and I think it's way more complicated than people think it is. I think people probably think I just sit at the computer one day and make the mix all in one day, but it actually is developed, over quite a bit of time. Like I said, we start in the spring and the summer with the concept. Once we have the concept, I have to map out, all the different vocalists that need to be in the mix and figure out who that's going to be, because I need to make sure that I build enough content to create a 2.5 minute mix. So we need, a pyramid song, a stunt song, an opening, a running, tumbling, a dance, and then various other voiceovers and things to fill in the space to make, however many 8 counts there are, 48 8 counts. Once I map that out, I put it all in like a recording calendar, and we're writing for specific artists. We might be writing for Senior Elite, but also other teams. So we have to catch that artist to record these 10 recordings, when they're available and so on. So we build all of the different pieces separately. So I never really know how it's going to come together until it comes together. It's one of those things. I guess I've just built so many cheer mixes that I know it's going to come together, but there's never like one moment where it's going to come together until it does at the very end. There's a lot of moving parts because we have, probably 5 different writers and maybe 10 or 12 different vocalists that all have to contribute. Once those are recorded, our engineer does all the sub mixing and like gets everything prepared and in stems. Stems means layers, right? Acapella, instruments, etc., and gets all that prepared for me to create the mix. Then whenever it's time for Courtney to video and put her counts on the count sheets, that gets done the week before I do the mix. As soon as all of that information is submitted, I pull up the video, I put it in my session, I go through the video and I label everything sort of in detail so I know where things go hypothetically. And then I usually stop there. That's the first layer. And then when I come back to it a few days later, I start to build like the sound effects and the foundation, just so that I can kind of see where things are going to hit, and like how it's going to like be pieced together. Then I stop. And then on the day of the mix, the next thing is like the most important part, because that's where I start to arrange all the words. So I place the pyramid song, I place the stunt song, I place the opening, I place the dance, place some of the other voiceovers where I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go to begin with. And like, then there's always like gaps. And I try to build the gaps where the gaps are around the major moments in the routine. So I'm building up to those moments and I have to fill that space. So I either fill that space with my voice or an announcer voice, or in this case, we had our vocalist who did the pageant queen. And then once I get those files, I put them in. And then I work with a composer who creates all of the rest of the instrumentals that haven't been created already. And that sort of is how we connect everything. That's also really complex because we're changing key. And one thing might be in an F minor, one thing might be in an E, the next section might be in a G. So we've got to connect everything where we can seamlessly go in between different keys. So there's sort of a method to that, and I don't want to bore everybody with musical theory, but we try to slide in and out of different keys so that it flows and it builds, and trying to, and we just work until it feels like it's glued together. And then the last piece of that puzzle is I work with my engineer. I send him my session. He goes through and like levels everything and puts his ears on it. And then from there, he sends me a link, which is a remote link where he's playing the session at his studio, but it's playing through my speakers. And he and I get on the phone and we go through it, until both of us are happy with the final. And then comes the most important part. We send it to Courtney and make sure that that she approves.
And I have to listen to it in a certain parking spot at a certain park, and I have to hope that no one's parked there. I have to wait until someone moves. I can go to my parking spot, listen to my music. And so every time I've ever listened to it there, it's like, that's it. Yeah. And that, when you can listen to a track like what he does and the hair stand up on the arms, like from first listen, then I think I played, when he sent me this one, I think I played it like 400 and something times in a row. And sometimes he's like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm like, I haven't stopped listening to it yet to stop. Like, I want to go play it over and over and over again. So that's how I know it's a good mix. But he works relentlessly on the things that you see everything. I just learned a lot from that as well. But there's a lot that goes into to creating. And he's gotten so efficient at the task working. And, if he says your music is going to be ready on that day, that's the day you're getting it every time. So that's a testament to his own self-discipline and ability to get all of the people to where they're supposed to be on deadline. And then I would just like to add that I'm just one small part of our coaching staff. There's 5 of us that really play our role in the sections, making sure. And Darnell is such a fabulous just director for all of us. And, he's learned a lot from being under Patrick, just how to time manage and understand. So he makes sure that the video that we send in is truly full out for the kids, and having to do that in whatever that was, the 1st of September. That's a challenge in and of itself, but we're always like, he's going to watch his video so many times on this big, huge screen. Like, do you really want him to watch you in slow motion, making a mistake over and over again while he's trying to plug it in? Like, he can't do his job unless you guys do yours and you hit the routine for this filming for this video. So we make a big deal about that too.
Senior Lee is definitely known for having a more inspiring type of music. The pyramid always is so emotional and tells a story. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how do you accomplish this each season?
Well, I think that's just the way we coach our. I just think that's who we are. I think that's the culture of Senior Lee. It's about loving each other and being a sisterhood first. And we have the girls divided on 5 smaller families of athletes within the team. They're colored teams, and we all have our own little team inside the team. And the way that we have always been, even since I coached my sister years and years and years ago. I like to think that people listen to that and they love cheerleading more. That's the general goal. It was fun these past 2 years to have something else to play upon with that, but the message is still the same about just sisterhood and being best friends and being triumphant. And Celine Dion's still my favorite person. So in the music world, anyway, not my favorite person, my favorite artist. And so my early fascination with her music was what started that. And then he's able to capture that kind of emotional just presence in a way that only he can.
Yeah. And Patrick, what about you? How do you think about this when you get to that pyramid section of the music?
Yeah, to me, it's one of the most important, if not the most important part of Senior Elite's mix, because of that reason, because everyone is sort of waiting to see what that pyramid song is going to sound, and hopefully it gives them all the feels, right? Like that's really the goal, is to make everybody's hair stand up on their arms when they hear it, because it brings that true emotion. I would say. Number one, I have also an amazing team. It's definitely not just me. My creative director and songwriter, Amori Jones, is just amazing at what he does. He's such a talent. Once we kind of start with an idea, sometimes we do it a cappella. Sometimes we literally like hum out a melody and sort of lay down like a hum track, literally us humming a melody, and that's where the words need to fit. And then we go back with the concept and we put the words to the melody, and then we build the track to that. Sometimes we say, hey, this is the kind of track we want, and we have the composer actually make the track, and then we write the lyrics. Then we hum a melody on the track, and then we write the lyrics to the track. There's not really a right or wrong way. We've done it both ways and they both work. It's really just which comes first and like where the idea starts, because it's not an exact process. It's a creative process. So it just kind of comes together, all different ways. But I think for us, we go back and forth internally on the song, multiple times until we land on something. We're like, okay, yeah, that's it. She's gonna love that. And then we send it to Courtney, and sometimes she likes it first listen. She's like, you nailed it. And then sometimes she goes, I don't know. Maybe the words aren't quite right. I wish it said this and this and this. And we'll go, okay, we'll go back and take her feedback and we'll change the lyrics. I think again, it's a creative process, and I think when all of us feel really good about it, that's when that's when it's done.
Definitely. And there is so much history when it comes to Senior Lee. And one thing I love is that the music sometimes always has those little nods to Senior Lee history as well. So How do you accomplish adding in those little details like that?
I think understanding, I've been involved in cheerleading for, you know, half my life. And so I really understand the culture of cheerleading. And I really appreciate the history. I appreciate all that Courtney and Senior Elite and her staff and program have accomplished. So I always try to pay homage to that. In some little clever way. Like this year, we named all the years that they'd won worlds, and
Right.
we did it all in one line, which is pretty awesome. That we fit it all in one A count. But
Right.
yeah, so I think it really just comes down to that. But one of the things that I want to capture with the music is the personality of her program. And she said it's about the way she coaches her kids. That's our culture. And one of the things for me is like I'm always trying to figure out like what does that sound like? Like when I know what their personality is because I speak to them all day and I see them, but like what does that feel like and what does that sound like? Because the music brings the emotion. So like to me, I'm trying to write things that are confident but also emotional and inspire people. And that sounds a certain way and that feels a certain way. And like that is written in a certain key musically and melodically. So I think that's really what I'm trying to do every year.
Yeah. And for us, like, I Patrick also does several mixes in our division, so I think he enjoys kind of talking to each other in very subtle ways too. So like this year he named all the colors of the other people in the team. Just kind of it's subtle but still present. And I hear the little pieces of other people's tracks, and I appreciate it's the inferences there that are long-standing rivalries from the teams that we very much respect in our division as well. So there's always some story in some of those as well.
Yes, always such a legendary, iconic division. Okay, so there's been a lot of iconic senior elite mixes over the years that you two have worked on together. So, both of you, do you have any standout memories when you look back on some of these senior elite mixes? Any specific moments that stand out to you?
I mean, I probably have like one per year. Like in the 2019 mix, I that was, well, 2018's mix actually. So I had just had Jackson. So there's like a hush little baby, don't you cry. And he's talking about like my son. So when I go back and hear that, there's that. And then 2019, obviously the stunt song that went viral, that Unbreakable, that was just so symbolic of the journey that we've been on, and specifically like with all those kids who'd been with me for a really long time. So that will always just be kind of the anthem of that generation. And then 2020 was just the entire mix, just absolutely phenomenal. But obviously the pyramid was really what sticks out, what sticks out for me. Moving on to those, and then after about 21 or 22, we were like, okay, this has been 8 and 9 years of this. We got a little bit more ferocious, I guess you would say, with the mix. And then in 2023, we decided that we really made that one more religious feeling and put the Bible verse in there, just so that particular team, and just had that's what we were leaning on. So I specifically remember I always like knock on, I have to be like super far back in an arena when my team goes. I have to hit a door 3 times. And I specifically remember being so calm in the arena in 2023 in finals, like more calm than I've ever been, because I realized that 10,000 people are singing a Bible verse right before my kid and her best friends and these girls that I love all jump into a stunt for the first time. Like, and I'm never calm. So I do think that moment, and there's some clarity in that for me, of just feeling like he really captured the spirit of that team. Um, and then these last two tracks they've just been great.
So true. Patrick, any standout memories or moments for you?
Yeah, definitely for me. The R song in 2019 is definitely a standout for me. I actually wrote those lyrics walking around my basement in my phone notes. And like you
I
don't want to hear
know.
me sing, but I sang it into my phone because I just like heard the words and the lyrics, and then I had and then we put it all together. And I remember going to NCA that year, and hearing the entire arena literally singing the whole song from the top of their lungs. And I was like, holy cow, this is like a concert. It was so cool for me because, because I wrote those lyrics. So that was definitely a really cool moment. And I think the other one was the 23. Maybe for a different reason. I mean, I definitely remember the be on your guard, stand strong in faith, like that whole like lead up. But then also I like convinced Courtney that we could do something different for the stunt song that year, and we went a little bit more modern sounding and like made it kind of be a continuous build. And that song like really was powerful. So I think those are the two that stand out the most for me.
For sure. I still will catch myself in the middle of the day singing some of those words. So it's iconic for sure. And okay, this season, are there any hidden gems or Easter eggs that fans could maybe be excited about with this mix?
Well, I mean, like Courtney said, obviously I do a lot of the other teams in large senior, so it's all fun. They're my friends and people that I love. But I think there's no sports without competitors and competition. So it's all in good fun. This year we did the flip the lights and stop the show, and that's like a little hidden message. And then I was imagining like if you're at a pageant, you see all the different girls and they're all in different color gowns. And Senior Elite always does the teal dress as like one of their emojis, like in all their social media and stuff. So I thought it would be funny to like call out the different colors of all the different evening gowns of the people that are in the division. So those are those are the two Easter eggs.
Well, he wanted me to decide what the theme was for next year so we could put an Easter egg in there, but I could use some inspiration on that.
I know everyone is so excited to see their first look of
Right.
Cheer Extreme at Showcase this weekend. Both of you, what are you most excited for the world to see with Senior Elite this season?
Um, I hope I'm excited for everybody to see how consistent my team is. We haven't competed yet, but they're the most talented, most consistent team I've had. So there's a lot of dynamics that have to stay in coaching that many girls. I love the pyramids, one of my favorites. I personally really like an element of our stunt that I don't think's been competed yet. We managed to keep it under wraps. Hopefully, for the rest of we have 4 more days. Um, I'm super excited. It's taken a long time to get to where it looks right now, and yeah, I'm just excited. They're super talented. So I I learned a lot we won in 2010, and then learned a lot in 2011, and then won back to back in 12 and 13. So in my superstitious mind, I hope we go 23, and then we didn't win in 24, and we go 20, 25, 26. That would historically make a lot of sense for me. That's at least what I'm hoping for. But um, I hope the girls, and like we had some choreo, and then we got the music, and then Ray comes back and will make the beginning come alive with using the lyrics. So you'll see a version on Sunday, and then a totally transformed, at least beginning of the routine through the end will stay the same. And Brett does so many great things for us, and like the running sections and things. So I'm excited for our choreographers to come back in now that the music is done, and put it to actually make a little bit more sense with the lyrics. Like the stunt and pyramid go perfectly, but we've got some work to do on what the groundwork and things like that are. So, and then we have someone else coming to work with us in December. So this year's routine we're hoping kind of unfolds, and we have some things planned as the season goes to kind of develop, um, so it doesn't get boring, and then have something to look forward to as the season progresses. So
Awesome.
Patrick does a lot of our mixes in the world's part of that. So all of them. He has knocked it out of the park this year. We love every single mix we have, and it's some of his best work. I don't know how he does that creatively over and over again for that many different, and like just within our own brand, Cheer Extreme mixes, none of them sound at all the same. Even the 4 teams that we have that he does, they all have their own personality.
For sure. Well, this is a perfect segue to wrap it all up. Patrick, we'll end with you. What inspires you to stay creative all these years?
Yeah, I think It's definitely difficult. I think that it's hard to. I mean, everyone expects me to top myself every year, and so I take that pretty seriously, and I really am trying to top myself every year. I'm trying to do new things that have never been done before. And it's challenging because the format of a cheerleading mix is inherently limiting, because of the tempo, because of the number eight counts, because of the speed, that sort of a thing. So everything has to be epic or aggressive or powerful or emotional. And there's a lot of musical things that, we could do if we could slow things down and speed things up and that sort of thing. But I think really it just comes down to continuing to tell the story, continuing to try to think outside the box. People don't know, but I also produce music outside of cheerleading. So I've learned a lot about, instrumentation and other genres of music, and I try to bring some of those elements into cheerleading, when I can, and just try to really keep it as fresh as possible. But it's, I don't know. I guess after 25 years of making cheerleading music, you just kind of trust your instincts and trust your team and work with your clients, and hopefully it turns out and everybody loves it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to give us a little behind the scenes look at Senior Lead's music today. We can't wait to see them bring this routine to life this weekend at Showcase. And fans, don't forget, you can listen to Cheer Extreme Senior Lead's music all season long with sound on FloCheer and Varsity TV.
So excited.
Thank you both so much.
Thank
This was so
you.
awesome.
No,
Thanks,
thank you for
guys.
having